It all started in late August of 2017. I was fresh out of high school. I just spent the summer as the official champion grocery bagger for my local Hannaford, and I was moving into my freshman dorm. I was super excited. I was going to meet new people, try new things, start my life, and then I realized I had to meet new people and try new things and start my life. And I immediately panicked, had a good long cry about 10 minutes after my parents left, and started off freshman year so right and on such a high note, you know? But the rest of the year was actually pretty normal. I cut off all my hair about 2 months in and tried to reinvent myself. It did not work. I took an FYS that felt just a little too specific to be an actual class, and I figured out how to stay alive when I got really sick for the first time away from home. Shout out to the health center, the Gatorade, top notch. So by the end of the year, I was expecting to feel kind of complete, or at the very least excited for the rest of college. And I did not feel that. I felt very bad, very confused, scared, and super, super alone. And like I didn't belong at Bates, which was not a fun feeling. Did not have a very good time with that. I was very confused. I had more friends than I'd ever had before, but also I felt way more alone than I ever had. And looking back on it, I realized I wasn't trying things for myself. I was just following other people. And I think the happiest moments of that year had been the field trips that I took for geology classes, where I didn't really even know anyone, maybe like 2 people in the class. And that definitely should have been a sign that I should hang out more with geology students and get to know them. But that did not really register with me at that time. It took a little bit longer. So then by the time sophomore year rolled around, I was kind of dreading going back to school, despite what I would tell my parents. And I was thinking maybe I'd made the wrong choice coming to Bates. Maybe I wasn't cut out for college at all. But I decided, we'll give it another try. How bad could it be? It was bad. It was very bad. The sophomore year was a rough time for just a number of reasons, especially the first couple months, because I was still feeling so confused and lost. But this was the year I started actually trying things for me and not just following people blindly. And even if that meant doing things alone, I would do it. And one of those things was agreeing to TA Geology 107, which is an amazing class, by the way. Field trips like every weekend, so fun. And that actually, I wasn't alone for that, but it was still something I was nervous about doing. But it ended up being easily the best decision I made ever at Bates. The 107 crew was an incredibly chaotic but wonderful group of people, and we had some really spectacular moments together, some of which are my go-to party stories, and some of which will never be told ever again out loud, but I will treasure deeply and forever. I actually ended up meeting a number of my best friends through that class. During the rest of this year, I started spending a lot more of my time on the second floor of Carnegie, finally. And I know it doesn't sound exactly like the hip happening location that everyone wants to spend all their time in, but for me, it was kind of heaven. I mean, it was a quiet place full of rocks. There were other people who like rocks as much as I like rocks, and almost every professor has a dog in their office. It's literally the best. And winter semester did end up being really hard for, again, a number of reasons, and saw a lot of low points, but at the same time, I could tell I was starting to kind of belong at Bates. I had people in my life that I felt really connected to and who I shared a lot of interests with. And yeah, it might have taken a little more than a year and a couple missteps, but I finally started making those college memories I had dreamed of, and, making choices for myself. And it all centered around the second floor of Carnegie Science. My friends and I would spend most of our days in the geology lab, and there are little traces of us all over the second floor. There are doodles tacked to bulletin boards, little additions to surprisingly easy to pick display cases, and most notably the incredibly terrifying Dobby the house elf mask that's pinned to the central support beam in the Entro lab. I think he might have a hat at this point. He's kind of become an integral part of that structure. I have to say, though, my favorite memory has to be these semi-regular dance parties with my best friends in Carnegie locations I am not at liberty to name, but they were excellent. And yes, junior and senior year kind of fell off the rails for us, and there have definitely still been some times when maybe I start to feel like I don't really belong, or I've just been faking it this whole time while everyone else knows what's going on, or just when something plain awful happens and knocks me off my feet. But I've gotten a lot better at recognizing it when those feelings creep in, and I can look back on all my wonderfully unique memories with the geology department and remind myself that I definitely belong, or I wouldn't have those memories. By learning to jump into all my interests headfirst, even if it means doing it alone, I've met some really wonderful people, and I've found my space in the world. And it's been pretty excellent. I've spent the last 21 years learning very slowly how to take care of myself and how to exist at all. And because of the second floor of Carnegie Science, it gets just a little bit easier every single day. So happy graduation. Hang out in Carnegie Science more, even though we're getting a new science building. Carnegie's still cool.